Hi, I'm Kim McLeod.
And I'm Gerald Richards, and welcome to Soul Kind Connections. We hope you enjoy our conversation today.
Here we are.
Here
We're
we
back
are.
again.
Hi, here we are.
Hi. So
I'm
good to see you
realizing that I'm
again.
doing this in my house, and you can see my dirty laundry in the back of my house. So I always have to move it. It's good to see you too. Good to see all of you out there in
Yep, in
podcast land,
podcast land, video land,
video land,
whatever you're
however you
tuning
are
in
viewing.
from. Yeah, we hope you're having a good day. Yeah, because Gerald, you and I we've actually had fun so far recording this. That's
This has been
been
great. It's been a lot of fun, actually. I mean, I figured it would be because we enjoy talking to each other that we would have fun doing it. But it's one of those things. I think it's not doesn't feel like work.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I guess this is work, kinda, but it doesn't feel like work. The best jobs were always the ones where there'd be days where you'd be like, I really love this. This is so much fun. I really enjoy this.
yeah.
So this is one of those really enjoyable
And
work
it's
things.
exactly. And if everybody loved their work so much, wouldn't it be awesome?
Would have to be a very different world if everyone loved their jobs. Wouldn't it? Everyone loves their job so much, right? I love going to work. I love waking up. I love coming back into work.
I've
Yeah.
just got the Lego movie in my head now. The everything is awesome. That was that's like
Awesome.
yeah,
You could always tell when you were ready to be done with a job. I could always
yeah,
tell I was ready to be done with a job when I would wake up and I would be like, "Oh, sweet God, I don't want to do this today." Right? That's the last place I want to be is in that
yeah,
place with those people today. It's
yeah,
rare. I can count on the number of hands that's happened.
yeah.
But when it happens, it's like, oh, I can't do this job anymore. All I think about from the time I wake up is when this is done.
Yeah. Yep. Get that. Been there a long
Yeah.
time ago for me now. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been self-employed for 20 years. So yeah. HR career before that in several different
Yeah.
places. So yeah, so there was, yeah. I used to have a kind of rule of thumb for me. It was um, 6 months to learn a job, 6 months to kind of probably enjoy the job. The next
Mhm.
6 months I'd be looking about where I was moving next. I mean, I very rarely stayed in a job for, I mean, 18, but 2 years I think was the longest I was ever in
Okay.
sort of one particular job because I was like, yeah, no, I'll get bored now, I'll need to move. But yeah, but there were some that definitely sparked you to move faster, and
Move
other
faster
times
than
it was.
others. Yeah.
And I would say, I suppose, we're going to talk a little bit about wisdom today.
Yes.
That was our kind of topic. The people, it was often the people that I worked with that would be the determining factor as to whether or not I wanted to stay there any longer. Would that be the same for you, do you think? Was it the people that you worked with that would actually be the driver to stay, or
It was it wasn't the people. I mean, I loved like there are some jobs I had where I'm still friends with the people and have been friends with them for like years and years afterwards. And then some jobs where I never talked to the people again. Right? So it wasn't ever the people.
yeah.
It was always whether or not I was enjoying I not enjoying myself, but if I was interested and if I was feeling like I was
Yeah.
being challenged and I
Yeah.
was getting
Yeah.
what I need. And it wasn't about money. It was about, oh, is this enjoyable to me? Right? Am I learning something? Am I able to grow in this job? Right?
Mhm.
And the people were always a plus because it was always like, wow, I work with some really cool people and that was great. But it was also like, wow, what am I getting out of this? Very
Mm.
selfishly, but like, what am I getting out of this? And when you stop getting anything out of it, it was when I was like, I think it's time I move on, right? I'm not going to move up. I'm not going to move on. I'm not getting anything out of this, and let me
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Curious,
yeah.
isn't it? About what drives us and what we
It was,
and what keeps us, like what keeps us in the same place and what drives us to move and change.
yeah. But I always thought of things and I tell people this, if we go to wisdom, my bit of wisdom to people, to younger people, is I always thought of things in 5-year increments, right? So job wise, like, because I was like you, there's points where I was in jobs and I was in jobs for like 2 years or so. And then I'd move on. And then I had a job I was in, I think when I took on the leadership role, I was there for, the first one was for 5 years. And the next one was for 7. And I remember in the 7-year one, and that was one of the best jobs I've ever had. I remember 5 years in, I was like, do I still want to do this? Like, is this it? And interestingly, and you will find this funny as a fellow Star Trek person, that somehow, I don't know, maybe I'm reading into the universe more than I should. But the Star Trek movie would come on. The Star Trek movie would be playing somewhere in my world, my existence. And I watch it every time it comes on. And there was always that part after Spock goes and touches V'ger, the space entity. And he comes back and he says, V'ger's asking a question. Is this all that I am? Is there nothing more? And it would always come on at the time. I would always find that movie, at a time when I was thinking about what my next step was in work. I don't know how it happened or what it is, but I would see that, I would watch it, and that would, to the point where there was one job I had, I'm like, I'm not watching this. I like this job. I'm not watching it. Because if I watch it, it's going to make me want to think I should be leaving. And it was that thing of me thinking that thing of like, is this it? Is there nothing more out there? And what do I have to do to find it? And how do I evolve myself in it? And then I would like think about it. And then literally like maybe like a 6 months to some odd months later, I'd already be looking for a new job and then would be gone.
Interesting. Yeah. So so here we are getting the wisdom from the message of Star Trek.
From Star Trek and Spock. If one of the best people to get wisdom from is Spock.
Yeah.
It's Star Trek and Spock. So I will take that at all times. I will take that.
And the other one I would go to is Yoda in Star Wars.
Yes.
Wise in the ways of the Force, he is.
He is wise in the ways, right? Do or do not. There is no try. Yes, you are right. You are right. Yes, Yoda is the other one. Yoda, at all times. Yoda.
Yeah, yeah. And I think maybe that's one of the things that it does allow you to consider stuff beyond the physical. Then, when you're looking at these programs. And just that thing about, just so are we pulling wisdom from another place? And feels like, oh, well, you're watching a TV show or you're watching a movie. But are we only watching a TV show or a movie? Are we actually just tuning in to something else that's sending a little message? Because there's times when these things show up, like you said, when you were perhaps then, the antenna, if you like, was already going.
Exactly, right. You're open to it and you're like, oh, okay, here's this thing. Like Star Trek has come on. Oh, or Star Wars, or right, Empire Strikes Back comes on and Yoda's there and you're like, oh, this is right. This is it. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I suppose there's a lot of wisdom is shared in the arts, generally. In literature and, through the like great novels and and movies and and that's the thing. Sometimes we can hear the messages from those sources easier, perhaps, than we can hear a message from somebody that we know. Would you think that's true?
I would agree with that. Like, if Yoda tells me try, right, do or do not, there's no try. I hear that. If a friend of mine said to me, I'm like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. What's your thing? Stop talking like a doll. What are you doing? And he says it, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's the smartest thing I've ever heard. And I remember hearing it as a kid and going, wow. And I have no doubt my grandmother said the same thing. I know my grandmother said the same thing to me. Yeah. At some point when I was in school. And she was just like, just do it. Stop trying. Just do it. Don't come with excuses. And I was like, you stop talking to me. Don't talk to me, old woman. You don't know what you're talking about. Go away. Yoda says it, and I'm like, that's the best thing I've ever heard. The wisdom of the ages just came at me. My grandma's probably like right now going, you.
What? I was trying to teach that boy.
I was trying to teach that boy stuff. You listen to Yoda? That's where you got it from? Yoda? I'm like, yeah,
Yeah. There's another movie that comes to mind. If you've ever seen it, it's called the Inside Out movie.
Is that the one with the different emotions?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yeah, yeah.
And that just kind of going, okay, here's what's going on, and and seeing that and all the different
Mhm.
aspects then taking over, and yeah, and I think that's such a that's such a wise movie. I think, in terms of wisdom, if you actually can tune into that and understand that. And I used to show that in some of the programs I was running for, for adults, going, let's watch this because it's a really good way to actually understand what's going on inside you when you're, who's in charge, who's in the driving seat.
Who's in the driving seat? Who's doing what? Right when they do it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's interesting. I've been reading this book. God, I wish I'm not gonna stop us to find it. It's somewhere in one of these bags behind me. But it's by a Buddhist monk.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna butcher the title, but it's the things you see when you slow down, right? The
Okay.
things you
Yeah.
notice when you slow down.
Yeah.
And it's written. It's very easy. It's a nice, easy read. It's got beautiful little illustrations in it. It's gorgeous. But it's a lot about one of the things he talks about is about anger and about how notice when you are angry, look at it and see what are you angry at, and then suddenly you realize you almost, it's like looking at what's my part in this.
Mm-hmm.
Am I angry at the person, or am I angry at something this has brought out in me, right? And I remember I read that, and I remember I was on a plane, and I travel a lot. I try to. And I love being on planes, and I find it the most stressful thing because of the people. And I get upset because I'm like, I've been traveling. I just travel for work all the time. I just travel all the time. And so you get it down. If you are a traveler, you have the way you travel down to a science, right? Like I can get all my stuff in one bag, right? People look at me and they're like, how you've got 3 weeks of work, 3 weeks of clothes in that one bag? I'm like, you can do it. Well, you just have to figure out what you want to do. But I would do it, and you get to the airport, and you do all the things you have to do now. You used to have to do. I think it's lesser than now, but you have to take off your shoes. You could
Mm-hmm.
only have this. You have to take out your liquids, and you always get there, and there were always people there who were always like this was all new news to them. Like, I have to take off my shoes. Where have you been? It's been 20 years. We have to take off shoes. I have to put my liquids in a small thing. Yes, and I always like, and I always have to like come. And I realized I was reading this book, and I stopped, and I was like, are you angry at the people, or are you angry at yourself? I'm angry at the people, but are you angry at yourself because you want this to go faster than it's going to, right? If you were calm enough, and if you slowed down,
Mm-hmm.
you would know, just slow down. You've given yourself enough time at the airport. You're not in a rush. It will be what it'll be, right? The time it'll take. And so that's been the sort of wisdom I've been his book. I'll find it. It's somewhere in here. But I recommend it because it's definitely like one
Mm-hmm.
of those things I've been reading that he talks a lot about. Um, just sort of how you are, who are you in the role that you play in your own life, and what wisdom are you getting from it, of the sort of thing, like these slow things of just slowing down and taking the time to sort of like look at things and not be in a rush all the time. Because I think we're in a rush all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I would probably just had a blether with somebody at the airport
See,
in the
you're
queue.
good.
So
You would just talk to them and do it and be it. And I'm that person that until they tell me to take off my headphones, I'm not taking off my
yeah.
headphones.
You're just
I'm in a
you're in
zone.
you're in
I'm
a
in a
zone.
zone. I'm in a zone.
Yeah.
I had to stop wearing my sunglasses because I would just have on my sunglasses and my headphones, and people would be talking to me, and I'm like, "Why are you talking to me? What? What? What you want? What?" So I had to. I've gotten much better. I used to be much worse. Like I fell asleep on someone in a plane. On a plane, a woman was talking to me, and I was just like, I really don't want to talk to you. I just want to do it. And she had like interrupted me. I pulled out my headphones, and I literally fell asleep while she was talking to me. because she would not look at me after when I realized what happened when you wake up.
But you drooling on her, so that's...
Luckily I wasn't drooling on myself. But I think I woke up when the flight attendant came by to offer us snacks or whatever, and they came by, and I woke up, and I realized, and I was like, oh, and as you realize, like, I think that woman was talking to me, and I fell asleep. And I looked her way, and she gave me that look like, I was like, okay, just sit in your seat, Gerald. Just don't say another word. Do it. You can't even apologize at that point. You just got to be like, you know what?
Okay. That's interesting.
We've gone completely off topic about wisdom, haven't we?
Fully off topic about
fully off topic.
There you are.
As we normally do, right? Fully off topic.
Here we go. We'll come back. There'll be a reason for that story as well. We usually come back. Well, that's fine. We get back to that. Yeah. So slowing down. That was where we started. That was where you were kind of coming with that about slowing. Yeah, that thing about slowing down and not getting so stressed about something, and I suppose maybe that's when we're able to listen. Because when we're in that, as I was just before we started recording, trying to get my husband to help me with some printing files and it's just when you think, I can do this myself, and then I realise I can't. So it's when you have to call on the wisdom of another kind soul to try and help, and the files won't go where they're supposed to anyway. But when you're in that space, then you're not open to listening to anybody else's wisdom. It's what you were saying earlier. Don't tell me, because I'm just so like, I've got to get from A to B. I've got this thing's got to get done now. Everything. And we create so much urgency.
Yes. Urgency.
I mean, often for us, and I'll admit, for myself, it's like, I've created this urgency. It's not this, I'm looking for stuff to get printed. It's for next Wednesday, I've got a few days. It's not in an hour. There doesn't need to be a panic over something.
Yeah. It's interesting because the way you were acting, I thought it was today. And you needed it today. So that's why I was like, oh my God, she needs it today. It has to be done. It has to be done. And you're like, oh, it's not till Wednesday. So you're right. It's like you created an urgency in it.
Yeah.
That you didn't really need to have, right? And sorry. Yeah, that's funny. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. From
so
the outside of it.
Yeah. And then we can't. So you going through the airport, and I'm in a hurry. Well, you've got plenty of time because I'm sitting here going, I need this. You're right, okay. And, it's like, actually, well, okay, you've got time. Slow down. So yeah, that's the wisdom of the Buddhist monk. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Just being able to slow down.
Yeah.
But the world feels busy and fast, and
all the time.
And that's so if we don't slow down, we can't maybe tune into wisdom then, in whatever way that comes, because it's too too many things. My head's I've got all of the inside out emotions over. It's that way, running round going, who's in charge? Who's in charge?
Yeah. I think the urgency makes us all. Yeah, I think you're right. The world moving as fast as it. Part of, I think, when I moved to the UK, and part I always loved about moving and traveling to other countries, was that the US, like it's bred into us that everything is urgent. And everything, and depending on where you live. If you live in Hawaii, you don't feel that way at all. That was the beauty of Hawaii. I think whenever I go to Hawaii, I'm like, these people they got it covered. They do not. They move at their own pace. That was great. But other places, like growing up in New York City, living in California, living in Los Angeles, living in San Francisco, you're just this urgency because you're in the world where everything is like, I gotta move, I gotta do it, right? I gotta do it. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. And I moved to the UK, and I was like, wow, people here actually take their weekends. They don't work on their weekends. They don't take phone calls on their weekends. They leave their work at 5:00 and they go to the pub if they drink, or if they don't, or they go to the pub to hang out with friends or whatever. But it's like a whole different scenario, like the scenario I was living in before I left the UK. And my job, I had two phones. I was always on.
Mm-hmm.
I was working in the organization I was running. We were in four different time zones. So it was always like, I was always on
Busy, busy.
hyper alert to do things.
Yeah.
Busy, busy, busy. And you sort of, the urgency creates health issues, I think. Right? Um, but also just your mind is always moving. So you never get a chance to appreciate things. To just appreciate how the world worked, to appreciate people, to appreciate how the world works, to appreciate a day, to appreciate, right? Walking through the airport and seeing the sea of human beings, all of whom are different. To just be like, oh, like you will sit and you will talk to people. And I was just like, I don't know, I want to talk to any of these people. I just want to I got to get to the airport. I got to get through the airport because I got to go somewhere. I got to be someplace. And even now, I somehow the airport I've not understood the wisdom of the airport yet. It still has not rubbed off on me. But the wisdom of like not everything not being urgent over the sort of 8-9 years I've been here has really rubbed off on me. And I see it when I go back to the States.
So you see the difference still there.
I see the difference. And they see it in me. Like people will say, you are so calmer. I'm like, it's not that deep. I have yet to find the thing that is that deep that I have to be that crazed about anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
But you live in a city, right? So I mean, if you're, so there's also, I mean, I now live on, fairly small town on the coast, and I noticed the difference from me. I used to live in the suburbs of the city in Glasgow, and I'm now, on the west coast, and there's a slower pace of life here than what there was in when I was in the city. And you're recognising living in the city, in Edinburgh, that it's actually that's still a quieter, slower pace than what it was in the States.
Than what it was in the States. And I think right before I moved to Edinburgh, I was living in San Francisco, which is about comparable size. Actually, I think San Francisco is actually smaller. Same number of people, smaller.
Right. Okay.
But it's still urgent because you've got financial district and you've got people and you've got things and everything's moving and and it was like you just have it. It's just there. And you get here and it's like, oh, okay. The shop is going to close at 6. So, not that I have to be urgently get there. It's like if I don't get my thing, okay, I just don't get it that day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not rushing to go to get it, right? Or I'm not being like, oh, the shop is open until 11 and all these poor people are still working until 11 o'clock to do their thing. There's America, right, where every store would be open until 8, 9 o'clock to accommodate all these people who are moving and grooving and doing their things. And I'm like, it's interesting to be in a place where the pace is just different.
Right.
It's different.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of this is a long time ago story that's coming up. So I used to do a lot of recruitment because I was in HR personnel in the olden days, as it was called, and I worked in the railway industry. Right, so I worked in the where are the trains, sorting all the stuff the trains, and I was going up to Inverness to do some recruitment with I used to work on the maintenance side, so it was the depot manager, and we were recruiting people up in Inverness. So in Glasgow, comparatively, Glasgow was a busy place. Inverness, yes, city in the north, but I mean, it was like they were on a different. We used to kind of joke about them being on a different timeline from us. And being in, going in with this manager who was, I was maybe early 20s. He was probably maybe early 60s at that time, so he'd been around for a long time, and he had and going in to do these interviews, and it was like, somebody would come in and would have had the questions and stuff all set up, and I would be like, okay, I'm going to ask the question, and he would be like, come in, hello, now. And I would be like, we've got 20 minutes to do this interview.
I would be like, you need to move faster than this. That would be me, yeah.
And it was just everything was just, but it was like, I had stepped into this other time zone. That's just what it felt like. You know, it was just this is what it is. And then, I mean, the laugh, because he then, so we were interviewing for, I think it was like some engineering apprenticeships or something. So it was all these kind of fairly young boys that were coming in. And then he just goes, he goes round and he picks up this huge big chunk of metal engine, hauls up. So do you know what this is? Like he said, this was the interview, right? Do you know what this is? And I'm like, this wasn't the questions we'd agreed to ask. But a different, you know, so a different era. He was, you know, from a different generation, in a different sort of space where it was a much slower, calmer, you know, space. You know, I'd been doing, you know, lots of recruitment. We had all these recruitment tests and, you know, assessment centre type things that we're doing. And you go up here and we're like stepping into this. And I reckon he probably then got more from the people who then, you know, the young lads as well, just kind of trying to get them to see, was this really what they wanted to be doing, talking to them. He was quite calm. He was bringing this in. So he had a lot of wisdom, I would say, in how he was handling recruitment. But as a young personnel professional, this was not how we did things.
Yeah. What'd you learn from him?
And you just look back and you think, you're right, actually, because he was just a slower pace. It was more deliberate. He was sussing people out because he had the time. He was just taking it that time, and that was the thing. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't because a lot of, you know, interview situations, it's like, okay, they've got, and having worked with a lot of managers and sat alongside them, they're just thinking of the next question they have to ask.
Yeah.
Rather than what's the answer that someone's given them, you know. So, and he was just so different, and it's really funny because I've not thought about that man or that situation for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, you sparking that kind of thing around, slowing down, and here was an example of that a long time ago that I thought, he was probably pretty wise.
Yeah. Well, you think about, right, the people, back to the people who, like, what the wisdom was. So what's a piece of wisdom you've been given that stuck with you?
I think probably being encouraged to trust myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that, you know, and I've got, I had an aunt who was very, very close, that I was very close to growing up. And that was, you know, like, you're thinking back to the days when I was leaving school and trying to go, you know, look about getting into a job and what was I going to do, and the careers my careers advisors at the time. I mean, it's really funny. They thought I should be an accountant.
I can't see that. I'm not that you're not good with numbers, but I can't see you being an accountant. From all the accountants I know, I don't see you being an accountant. But
no. It was just like, you know, I think because I did quite well in the accounts exam or something that I did. That was it. And it was like, and you were getting all of this. I mean, it's particularly at that early stage in your life, and you're trying to figure it all out, and you think that you just have to make a decision and figure it all out. Then, right? There's still a pressure on it, and my mum was always quite laid back, so she wasn't somebody that would sort of push you in any direction. So she was kind of like, well, just, you know, she would be around in the background if you wanted to talk, but she didn't kind of push you in any direction. And my aunt that I was so close to, she'd worked in a bank, so she'd been the kind of professional job, you know. So, and you know, having conversations with her about, you know, like, oh, should I go? Should I do this? Should I, you know, it's like, and her thing was just really, well, trust yourself, you know, just trust yourself, trust that you'll make the right decision, you won't make the wrong decision, and that things aren't necessarily the wrong decision, even if you think that they are. You know, it's like, but you know, just that things work out. And then I went to apply for all these jobs in banks, and it was in the early 80s, and you know, unemployment was pretty high in the UK, and I didn't get any of the jobs that I went for. You know, just the kind of the route of me then from there into working in the railway was actually a conversation with a neighbour who was another careers advisor, not mine, and he said, "Oh, there's this new, like, it was an employment scheme for young people that was set up because there was such high unemployment, and it was called the Youth Training Scheme. It's called YTS. So we got to, and the railway were basically taking people on. I think you might enjoy that, Kim. Why don't you? Can I want me to put your name forward to go for that interview for this?" And I did, and it was, I mean, that was it. It was the start of the career. That it was never in the plan. It was never in that this is where I'm going to go. But it was absolutely the best place for me. It was also where I met my husband. So if I hadn't,
Same.
if I
If you hadn't
hadn't,
done it, you would have.
wouldn't have met him. So yeah. So when I think back, it is that I think that's the best piece of advice that I've been given, was to learn to trust yourself, and to kind of just tune in to, if there's an opportunity or there's something comes up, to lean into it. And if it really doesn't feel right, don't do it. Don't do it.
That's good. That's good. Trust
So,
yourself. I like that.
yeah,
That's
trust in
it's
me.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, trust in yourself. Right. Just
So what
right.
about you? What do you think? What's the best piece of advice that you've been given, or wisdom shared with you that you?
It's making me think. I've got a couple things, but one that keeps popping up to me because I do a lot of work in groups and with people, and a lot of facilitation and a lot of coaching. It was step up and step back. So, and it was first time, and it was the thing of like, right, of like, you're in a group or you're in and people are talking and there's a discussion happening. Step up. Don't be afraid to step up. Give your thoughts. Do what you do. Talk. But then step back and let other people share. Because what I had noticed in the world, I still notice, is that everyone wants to people want to prove how smart they are, or that I know, or I need to get my point across. And I'm like, you can get your point across, but that then overshadows, or they talk other people, or they are like not list, right? It's a thing where people are so busy making sure that they get their next thought out that they haven't listened to the thoughts of the people that happened, right? Where then you're like, you totally missed that someone said what you were actually going to say already, or something like that. And it was a thing of, it was a facilitator, a coach of mine was like, step up and step back, right? Put
Mm-hmm.
yourself out there, step up, talk, da-da-da. And this is more in the groups. Not like, I don't think it's a thing of like, if you're out and about, do it, but you're in groups and things to step, or you're in discussions with not just one person, two people, three, however many, but to step back and listen to other people and let other people share their thoughts and what they're thinking. Because I realized when I did that, how much you hear about what other people are thinking, right? How much you learn about other people and how other people view things. And then you could sort of sit there and go, oh, okay, if we're talking about doing something, we now have this collective wisdom and going, and that's where the ideas spring up, right? Rather than it being everyone having to be like, I need you to know that I know this. I'm like, okay, that's great. That doesn't help the situation. Now we know it, but what do other people say? Especially, right, you get in a group of people, and there's some people who aren't just, right? There are people who just aren't comfortable speaking in groups, or just waiting to have their turn, or aren't as assertive about speaking. So how do you give those people the opportunity to be able to open up? You see a lot in schools, right? Because you're trying to get kids to like, okay, how do you get kids to open up, right? You give your thoughts out, and then you go, okay, well, what do you think? And open it up to them. And it's about like not this. I think this was so this goes along with realizing, and I realized this in a sort of in life, but in a dating concept, in a dating mode, is that you don't have to fill the space. If their silence is actually pretty good, right? You don't have to fill the space. That's what step up and step back. People are like, I feel like I need to fill the space.
Yeah.
Instead of
There's a lot
being
of
like,
people
you know
not
what?
comfortable with
With
silence.
silence. No. And you learn. I was one of those people for a long time. Not comfortable. Like, if it's silence, it means we're not getting along, or we're not talking, or we're not learning. But you realize, like, silence is actually pretty good. Actually, between two people.
Just be silent for the rest of the show.
Just be silent for a second. But silence is
But
pretty
yeah,
good, right? Between the people, it's not this urgency. Back to this urgency piece, right? Of like, I need to say something to fill the space. I've
hmm
realized that I don't actually need to say anything to fill that. Piece of wisdom from my coach, who I still love to this day, was that I don't need to be the person to fill the space.
that makes me think about maybe often the wisdom comes from the ones who are actually more quiet. it's not
Yes.
it's not necessarily the ones who are loud, and and we can look in the world just now perhaps and even say yes. Is the wisdom coming from those who are loudest?
Who are loudest?
um,
It's not. Right.
but actually creating, so that bit about creating space and encouraging those who then maybe think and consider something more, because that's then where wisdom is different from knowledge and just having something
Yes.
to spout because I know something I want to tell you. From I have I'm aware of some information. I've considered the situation around me. I've thought about how this affects me. I've thought about what I think and feel about this. And I've kind of given some consideration to how I'm going to share this with the people that are in this situation, that are going to listen or going to hear this.
Yes. Yes.
And that's then, for me, that's applying wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah. The smartest people are not the wisest people. Took a long time to
Yeah.
realize that, right? I think we still are.
Yeah.
So people think the smartest people are the wisest people. The smartest people are not the wisest people, right? Sometimes the wisest people are the people who might not be college educated. Like my grandmother didn't have a college education.
Yeah.
One of the smartest people I know. One of the smartest women I know. And that's one of the wisest women I know. One of the wisest people. She had some, right? Like I said, she would say it, and then Yoda would say it. I'd be like, Yoda, but like, right? She would say things to me, and now I look back on it as I get older and as I age, as especially after she passed away.
Yeah.
Of things I remember her teaching and things she was saying that I think she was even there was I was in a program when I was in primary, what we say primary school here in the UK, elementary school. I got into a program that helped gifted young people of color go to private schools in New York City. It's
Okay.
called Prep for Prep. Still around. Still around. And it was really hard because what we had to do was you had to go to school in the summer. Then you had to do, while you were still in regular school, so what we would call sixth
Okay.
grade. So while you were still in regular school, you went to school every Wednesday and Saturday for in essence, the entire school year. Then you went to school again another summer to prepare because, right, from public schools in New York City to go to a private school is completely different levels of things and where they were. So
Right.
they wanted to make
Okay.
sure you were prepared to go in private school. It was really hard. Right? I think I didn't know if I thought I was a smart person. I was a smart kid. But it was really hard. And I remember there was one point where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't. It's too heavy. It's too heavy. And my grandmother looked at me and said, you could do that if you want to be done. You could be done. Okay. And I think I was like, this is weird. What? Because that's not the type of person she was. So I was like, well, it's like, I mean, if you want to do that, what are you going to do then? Like, you just go back to regular school and then you'll go to high school and you'll do this. And, she's like, you're smart enough to know what public high school's like in the city. So what are you going to do? But if you want to be done, you could be done. And it was like, it wasn't until I was older that I was like, this woman used reverse psychology on me. Because I went and I finished it and I did it and I got a scholarship to go to private school and I went and got college and everything. And I wasn't until I was older that I was like, that woman used reverse psychology on me. Not someone that knew about what reverse psychology was.
Yeah.
I don't think she would have said, that's not what she would have called it. It was just for her, like, this is, how do I handle this? If I scream at you not to go, that you're not going to drop out and I force you, you're going to hate it and you're going to wind up tanking out anyway. Right? Because you're going to not want to do it. And it's going to be a worse situation for you. And you wind up either quitting or you wind up failing out. Rather than telling you, well, don't do it then. And you then sitting back going, well, what do you think? And literally, I think the next thing, what, you think I can't do it? And she's like, I didn't say that. But if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Be done. Go to regular school. And I was like, well, and in my mind, how dare you think I can't do it? well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. And I did it. Right. And it was the thing of like that wisdom. And like I said, I'm not college educated. Smart woman.
Yeah.
But I think smart woman, still smart, but smart in different ways and wise well of like of the thing that people would go, that's a wise woman. Like there's wise stuff, there's wisdom coming out of this woman's mouth. To this day, there's stuff that I remember her saying to me that I'm like, my grandmother said that to me and she was absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Right.
And here's the thing, you know, like if she hadn't handled the situation that way, or if she hadn't had, she obviously had a desire for you to go and be in a different environment than was likely to be if she hadn't been able to help you kind of do this. How different your life might be. Completely.
I think about that often, right? The sort of the choices you make and what path that leads you on. But I can't say I don't think I'd be here, but I don't think I'd be here.
Yeah.
Having this conversation with you.
Yeah.
Because it would have been a completely different life path and I would have been on a completely different way. Right. And I think my grandmother raised her own two sons.
Yeah.
Who, I'm going to be completely honest, completely went the wrong paths. Both of them horribly. Right. And I think she was like, if I force him to do this, he will go that same way. So I've got to do this differently. But that's wisdom to think, I got to do this differently. Yeah. How do I do this different? Yeah. How do I do this differently? Right. And it's like, wow. Right. And I always sit back and think about if I had kids, I don't think I'd be that wise. I don't think I think I'd probably be the parent that would be like, you were going to go to that program and do it.
But I think the thing is, you saw that about their experiences, and we think that we're not going to be, whether it's your parents, your grandparents, whoever's been the significant, you know, people in your life if they've had an influence, and we always say, I'm not going to be like my mother, and then I hear the words come out of my mouth, which is exactly what
all the time.
You know, so that's the thing, is that we do. But yeah, I love this. What was said there about you and I probably wouldn't have been having this conversation. If I'd been going to be an accountant and taking that, we probably wouldn't have been having this conversation.
Yeah.
Sinclair and I, my husband and I, were talking kind of about this the other day, because he's been kind of delving into some of his own past and some of the things that have happened to him, and, you know, just trying to understand some things. You know, he was seeing that there's been some times when, you know, his father in particular maybe wasn't the most supportive. You know, he didn't necessarily do things that you would look back and go, oh, that maybe wasn't the best way to handle those situations. And we were having that conversation about, you know, just, okay, so if he got the chance to go to university straight from school and didn't go. He said that he didn't go. Sinclair said he didn't go because of the family didn't have the money at the time for him to go. They needed him to go to work to help bring some money into the family home and help support everybody. And that's the story he's told himself all these years about. That's why he didn't go to university. And we were talking about it the other day, and he said, I think there's another thing beneath that, and it was actually whether I felt worthy and able to go to university. And some of that was about his life experience and some of the things that had happened. And it was then the discussion around, are we, you know, he then said, but well, what if I'd gone? And I said, but actually you and I would not be sitting here if you had gone. You know, well, it's very unlikely. We might, and who knows, this whole thing around, yeah, you know, this whole, you know, are we supposed to, you know, paths cross, whatever. I said, but, you know, and maybe there is, you know, and we might do this another day about, you know, whether there are multiple timelines and different versions of ourselves and infinite opportunities are out there, you know, that what's actually happening. But it's like that. If I had gone to university straight from school and not gone to the railway, I wouldn't have met him. If he'd gone to university from there, you know, our paths might have crossed, but we would also have been different when we met. Because we would have had different experiences. And I think sometimes the wisdom is actually looking back at our own journey and seeing that we, because we're always going to be influenced by other people, right? And sometimes situations happen, and some difficult things happen, and some great things happen. And if you look over your life, if you get to where I'm almost 60 now, so I can look back and say, oh, there's been a lot so far. um you can see some things where I had a choice to make as to what I would do. Sometimes you didn't have a choice, you didn't have control over a lot of the situation, but I have a choice to make as to how I handle it, what I choose to think and believe, and how I take that next step forward. And I can see that a lot of those decisions and situations go back to that early conversations and support that I had from my aunt, who told me to trust myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. That wisdom of
That
someone telling
that
you
wisdom,
that, right?
that
Trust
wisdom
yourself.
that's actually, and it's kind of like woven then through my life. It's been there, and that, so that I've had this belief that I could do something, I could make it, even if it seems hard, even if it's this is really really challenging, whether it's a really emotional thing or whether it's a physical situation you're trying to resolve, or that you can, you'll find a way through it, and trust yourself that you will know what you need to do and that you can do it. And it's like, okay, and maybe up until now I have not really thought about that's where a lot of that came from. So thank you, Aunt Myrid. my lovely Annie, who's not been here for a long, long time. But yeah, but we still have conversations, so it's fine. But
As you do.
yeah,
I still have conversations
as
with
you
my
do.
grandmother. Or at least I think about it
Yeah.
all the time. Like, what does she do? What is that? What is that? I talk about her a lot. People like, you talk about your grandmother a lot. I'm like, I don't think at the time I realized how influential she was. As most things you don't realize at the time that person, how influential that person is. And the older I get, I realize how much of her, one is in me, but how much of what she taught me, which I don't think I was thinking she was teaching me anything. Because I will be completely honest and be completely snobby and be completely probably I was like, she's not as smart as I am.
Mhm. Mhm.
She didn't know. She didn't go to college. She didn't go to school. She didn't know. Realizing, and it took me into my 20s to realize, like, this woman is freaking brilliant, right? And all the things that she taught me and imparted on me and told me, and she wasn't perfect, right? I don't want it to make it sound like my grandma was a saint. She was not a saint. There were things about my sister and I, my aunt and I talk about it all the time, about that there are things about her that were like where we didn't learn things from her around
Or you
emotions
learned,
and
yeah,
things
or you maybe learned that, oh, maybe there's a better way to do. So sometimes the wisdom
from
that's shown
her.
up for us is then, you know,
Is the opposite of it, right? The wisdom is like, she's probably not trying to teach this to me, but I'm learning from it,
yeah, yeah.
right? Of it being in that way. But yeah, that thing. I do think a lot. I'm like you. I think a lot about, well, what if you took a different path? What does the different path look like? Right? When I think about, what if I hadn't come to Edinburgh? What if I decided to stay in San Francisco and do my job, find a new job and do my thing? And it was I think I will tell you the one piece of wisdom I ignored in that situation.
Okay.
'Cause sometimes you ignore wisdom, right? Sometimes, or at least advice, right?
Yep.
Advice.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I was grown up with, and probably I think many of us have grown up where it's like, you didn't leave a job without another job,
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
right? You don't leave a job if you don't have another job, because you don't know how long it's going to take you to find another job, even with your say, or you might burn through your savings or all that stuff. And when I left my job, 826 National was great. I was there for 7 years, longer than my prescribed timeline, which means I loved it, right? But
Yeah.
then got to a point where I think it's time for me to move on. And I decided to leave, and I did not have another job. I just decided to go. And I remember hearing my grandmother's voice in my head going, "Are you an idiot? You need to have another. You cannot just leave this job and not have another job." And I didn't leave right away. I had a runway. I was sort of looking at things, but I was also thinking in that time I was trying to figure out between the time I said I was going to leave and the time I left. I was realizing I was either going to do the thing what you do when you find another job. It might not be the job you want, but you're so afraid of not having a job that you take a job and then you don't like it and then you wind up leaving it anyway, right? So this is the first time, and I think I followed my own wisdom, was to be like, take a break. I worked since I was 13 years old, right? I worked consecutively. I barely had any breaks, any time off that I'd worked until, and by the time I'd left that job, I think I was 47, 48. So I'd worked continually for like 35 years, right? And had never taken a break. And was like, Gerald, take a break. Something will come along. You will find something, but you're better off taking the time to not. And so I didn't find a job. I took the time. I wound up traveling, which was the best thing I did. I went to some of the best places. I went to the furthest place you could go, and then traveled my way back to the States, and was like, it's the best thing. That wisdom was like the best thing I ever did was trust in myself that something was going to happen. I was going to find something, and that the other part was that I was enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. I'm enough. You're going to find something because you're good at what you do. You're enough, and something will come to you that will be the thing. And the opportunity to move to Edinburgh and help start the organization I was running here was the thing, right? And I'd always wanted to live overseas, so it was like, wow, if you hadn't waited, you wouldn't have gotten to this point. So it was bad, but I was like, what if I had just taken? Because there was at one point someone was offering me a job, and I could have taken it because I was like, oh, can you not? Because you need a job. My grandmother's voice is in my head, screaming, "You need to have a job, fool! You need to have a job." And I was like, "Don't listen to that voice. Don't listen to that voice." And I'm actually glad I didn't listen to that voice.
Yeah, but it's a hard thing though, isn't it? Because like you said, there's a conditioning around this is what you're expected to do, and maybe it's if you're going to step out of what you think are the norms for your social group, your society, your whatever, and really trust yourself, then you really have to, I think, be connected with your own inner wisdom and your own guidance. So that thing for me, like that wisdom, we might call it intuition, we might call it, a connection to something, perhaps even sometimes it's out with ourselves. So it's stuff that we're, we'll use the Star Trek and the consciousness and be able to kind of tune in to something else. But being able to have the confidence in our own ability to then listen to whatever that is, and not the outside external noise, which is where we kind of started with all this like noise. So we actually have to then be able to slow down, go to that, and actually really hold that centre. And I've got shivers at the moment, so there's obviously something really important about this. When we can hold that wisdom then within ourselves, so that we can take that next step, that considered next step that is in the right path for us. And I'm going to go a little bit, out there now with the potential of, you and I have had some of these conversations about, our soul path even, and our, like, if it's a soul journey, if it's something that that you may well have chosen before you come into this lifetime, and people, will have all sorts of views around that. But that's something that I hold, and I think if I then am able to sort of tune back in with this sort of feeling, it's not about destiny. Some people think if you were talking about anything like this, it's like, oh, you've got a predestined path, and that's exactly what's going to happen to your life. You don't have to do it, having to make a choice. I don't believe that's anything like that. But I think that perhaps we come as a soul into a human body to experience certain things, to connect and understand, and to gain some more wisdom, because we actually then take that wisdom back into the consciousness. The conversations I have with my son Callum, who would call it the big soul soup pot, as he calls it, that would be the thing. And that's where that sort of collective wisdom, if you like, is. And if we're able to slow down enough to be able to really tune in and actually understand ourselves, then maybe that's the voice that we're also then hearing, because that voice is that eternal part of you. It's that soul, really wise, that's been around a lot longer. So it's like, it's like the grandmother, it's like the wise aunt, it's the elder of us that's really got all that wisdom, and being able to kind of tune in and listen and then take some action. And any time that I've done that, and I've really and it's the knowing, when you actually just feel like you did, that you weren't listening to what everybody else was. So there was something that, if you like, probably possibly then greater than just, it's like greater than the sum of the parts, if you like.
Yeah.
that was helping you just go, no, this is the route that I need to go on. But where do we go from there?
Well, it's interesting because you talk about, so I'm a Buddhist, and I practice a sect of Buddhism. It's a Japanese sect of Buddhism. And one of the things you learn from the Buddha is that, or in Buddhism, is that, right, we live lives. You keep going. And you keep going, right? You live again, and you come back, and you're reincarnated into something else, into someone else. You do something, you reincarnated. Because everything is, to your point, is you learning. And it's you becoming enlightened over time, because you're learning things, but you take those things that you learned in other lives, right? That informs this life, until you reach a state of enlightenment where you're like, I learned all I can, right? I know it, right? I know all I can. And so to your point of it being, we are learning every time we go through these iterations of life, and we learn, and you pick up on those things. Because probably another life, I would have been like, I need to take this job. Right. Mm-hmm. And in this life, it's like, no, you're not going to take this job. So what have I now learned because I've done this? And in the next life, right? Because I don't think I'm enlightened at all. But it's just thing of the next life, right? I'm trying to get there, but I haven't gotten there yet. I got some times more to go. But that you are picking up these things, and what you learn, and what you take into the next life, and what you take into the next life, and what you impart to, not just to yourself, but to others. What we share, right? It's back to that step up and step back, right? What are you willing to share? What do you want to share? What part of the wisdom that you are learning from the universe, from the soul pot, from the universe, can you share, right? And it's not like talking, I'm not going to tell you everything I know, because, right, you're not trained, but at least what can I share, right, with other people? What can I share what I learned? And how does that help not just me, but how does that help the world? How does that help other people? How does that come back to being sort of like, how do you give back? How do you give your wisdom back, right? There's the inner wisdom that you have and you learn, and the wisdom that you share. Because I think we all have wisdom to share. For the most part, I think we all have wisdom to share. There are some people in this who shall remain nameless and run countries who I think have no wisdom to share.
It's a little bit, it's well hidden. It's well hidden, but
well hidden wisdom. Whatever we're getting, well, actually, probably we're getting the wisdom to know not to do those things, right? So we are getting wisdom, right? To not do those things. But it's like, how much of that do you share, right? And how much of that? And I find myself, I think I'm fortunate that there are a couple of younger people I work with or know, and have been able to mentor, or have been able to talk to, and I'm always like, if I had to tell you one thing, there's certain, like, trust yourself is one, right? I've said that, like, you're right, you'll do it, trust yourself, it's fine. Or have options. Just make sure you have some options. Have some options. Don't go down the path, just the one path, because you have multiple paths, right? Because every path leads you back to multiple, right? We do have to have a conversation about multiple destinies and universes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
and I think that that's a great way of just saying that, that's thing. So slow down, listening to yourself, trusting yourself, knowing when you don't know something. So then you do seek the role of a mentor, a trusted, wise person in your life, which is generally not TikTok or just
No,
or just,
no.
that thing of just kind of, so, yeah.
Not that there are not wise people on there putting stuff out there,
Yes,
but it's not going to get that much from it.
But it's not, it's not just about go and watch this, like all these, listen to this person, and they're the one to follow. But really being able to kind of connect, and when you can connect with some person, isn't that thing about that connection with some person that you can have a conversation with, that you leave then having been open to potentially exploring something in a different way, which is what you and I do all the time, because we come at life from different points of view. So the wisdom of being able to just go, okay, I don't know everything, I don't know your thoughts and feelings on a particular situation, because we've lived different lives, different experiences, which is all the thing about this podcast. But being open then to exploring that with somebody else, to go, okay, this could actually help me then be more in tune with what it feels right for me, to explore another option that actually could take me somewhere. And then maybe I will gain some more wisdom. And the thought that comes to me then is that I can share for the good of all. That's one of my things, is that we share something for the good of all, and it's not just for me to do well out of this and to hell with the rest of you, you know? So, yeah.
Nice. So, as we end this, because I see we're, we could talk, as we know, we could talk about this for the next 2 to 3 hours and have a fantastic time.
Yeah.
What's the one piece of advice you would give to the people who are watching, listening to us, or a piece of wisdom you want to drop some wisdom on the people? What's the piece of wisdom you wanna drop on our people?
I think it just kind of sums up what we've been talking about. Slow down, tune in, and I think that thing about start to explore what wisdom would mean for you. Is that, rather than what it, just, it's the kind of trusting that you've got some there, because you've probably, unless you're a soul for the first time, you've been around a long time, and there's an element of stuff that's actually there, which is a little bit like, I'll come back to the Star Trek references. The Trill as a species in Star Trek had a host, right? So the Trill were if you watch Star Trek, you'll know this, but if you don't, the Trill were hosted within another species, so they coexisted then in a body, and the host would have the memories and experiences and understanding of the wisdom that the Trill had lived on previous lifetimes. So yeah, I think it would just be maybe open to explore that there's other ways for you to tune in and tap into your own wisdom, and that there's always someone else that you can go in and ask them. So what about you, Gerald? How would you leave this?
I would tell people, and that's just something I think I said at some point in this, of like, you are enough, right? In all of your amazingness, and people, I think, thinking, don't let people tell you, don't let people define you, don't let people make you. I think that's one of the things, and I think I got that from my grandmother, right? You are enough, right? You don't let other people tell you who you are or what you are. Back to trusting yourself, right? But you are enough, and know that in this sort of like universe that there's only you, right? And you are sharing yourself with other people is how we get to know each other and how we grow, and being open to that sharing of yourself and learning about people. But that within that is that, like, you're enough. You're enough. You don't have to hit your face with a hammer to look good or do any of those things. You are enough. You're enough. Yeah. You're amazing. Yeah. And I think that is one of the things I hear that in my brain all the time, that I'm like, you're enough. So I hope other people hear that in their brains. You are enough.
Lovely. Thank you. As always.
Thank you. As always.
Love sharing your wisdom. So there we go.
And yours. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your auntie's wisdom.
That's it. All there.
All of us.
Yeah.
That's good.
So hopefully you've enjoyed some of our conversation, and yeah, we'll catch
it was a
up with you next
far-ranging
time.
one. We started all, we went all the way around.
Does.
As always. We hope you got something out of it. Okay, take care. Until next time.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation, and if you did, it would be great if you could leave us a 5-star review and maybe even share this with someone else that you think might enjoy it.
Thanks for joining us, and we hope you join us next week for our next Soul Kind Connections conversation. Bye.